So this week, tomorrow in fact, in court we have a new twist on an old story, which is Goldman Sachs on having worked multiple sides of individual deals, which is not necessarily bad, but it always gives rise to questions, and in this case, lawsuits. Jeff, can you fill us in on this situation? I know you looked at it a little while.
Yeah, well, what happened was, there was this big deal with Kinder Morgan buying El Paso, and Goldman worked on that deal every possible angle it could. It took Kinder Morgan public. It helped it do an LBO. It owns a piece of the company, and then it showed up advising El Paso. And that's where this lawsuit comes
as well
into
as
play.
advising Kinder Morgan
And Kinder Morgan, because they own a stake, and so that's where and Goldman has a history of managing these sorts of conflicts. But as you say, it's pretty rare that these things come up in lawsuits in court, and that's where this kind of takes it to a new level.
Actually, our colleague Ren Holding has looked at this. These lawsuits on M&A deals are coming up more and more often, and when there's a conflict, there's an obvious reason to do it. But here it's not clear that. There was a potential conflict, but it's not clear that it resulted in anybody getting short-changed.
So there's definitely conflicts, and the question is, did that lead to anything untoward happening? And that's what this group of shareholders is arguing. Right. But and they've got some evidence that they say proves that. A couple of emails from another bank saying that this is Goldman is most scandalous, or whatever the phrases they use. But probably all the judge needs to worry about is whether they managed to, by underhand methods, get a deal done that strips shareholders of some value. And they're offering, what was it, 37% premium to El Paso shareholders.
Right. And it's pretty hard to argue that a 37% premium. I mean, who knows? It might have been 39, it might have been 38, but
on the day of the deal, it certainly looked. Obviously, it was a big jump for El Paso shares and Kinder Morgan shares. It was, everybody seemed to be doing well. It didn't look like it was something. I mean, obviously, Goldman was again sort of making fees out of it and making profiting because it owns a stake, but it wasn't solely in its own interest. It looked like it was sort of benefiting a lot of other parties.
What the shareholders are arguing is that, come on, Goldman steered the company away from looking at spinning off part of the operation, and then maybe even Goldman wants to help spin out the operation after this bigger deal is consummated.
But that's a massive sort of counterfactual, as they call it, right?
Go and prove that really would have been a better deal. It's hard. In fact, we've looked at a couple of other deals in the space. Conoco announced a spin-off of one of its units last year, and it's actually underperformed many of its peers who haven't announced that. There could be other reasons, of course, but here you've got a spin-off that's been proposed, and shareholders aren't particularly embracing it for whatever reason.
One of the most interesting things, I mean, beyond the sort of legal question about this, is whether Goldman, which has been so expert at doing this, how much longer has it got to do these kinds of things? Because of lawsuits like this is one aspect of it, but you've also got you've got Volcker rule, all kinds of other things that are going to alter the equation of whether or not they can.
I mean, it's been long since known as being this firm that has done the best at getting private equity mandates and turning them into investment banking mandates. If they can't do as much private equity, it follows that that's not going to help.
Right. So we'll leave it there. It seems like in this case they may have managed it right, but the question is whether they can take these multiple positions just because it doesn't look good, even if they get it right.
Yep.
Correct.
Exactly.
We'll have more from Breaking Views tomorrow.